And all right, guys, what is happening out there? Hope you're all well. Guys, yeah, it's been this day last week actually since I got a 420 news out to you. Um, Wednesday's one was a bit of a different take on the 420 news, and that I don't know if you most likely have seen it, but I went out and I planted a cannabis plant in the garden of Cork City Hall just as a little protest there because as I was preparing for 420 news actually that day. I came across a post going up by Vera Toomey that kind of just inspired me to go out there and take part in a little bit of civil disobedience in order to raise awareness about the need to have a conversation about legalizing cannabis, you know. So in today's 420 news, guys, we're going to be going from Scotland to Ireland. We're not really traveling around the world at all today, guys, but not out anyway. It's going to be some good news, and it's going to be cannabis relevant too. So to start off, guys, the first bit of 420 news today, it's bringing us to Scotland, and it's going to be visiting a young boy by the name of Murray. Murray Gray, you see him pictured here. On the left is a picture of Murray prior to starting his cannabis medicines when he would have been I'm pretty sure this was taken while he would have been taking some of these other AEDs, anti-epileptic drugs. And you can see the photo on the right then, you know, while he's taking cannabis medicines. You know, you have your modern pharma on one side and you have cannabis medicine on the other side. Um, the difference there, as you can see, it's quite day and night. That's not to say that these anti-epileptic drugs don't work good for other people. It's just that currently for Murray, they don't work. They're not able to subdue his seizures. Um, Murray, going back before starting his medical cannabis treatment, was suffering up to 12 seizures a day. That's 12 seizures a day. Any one of those seizures potentially could take young Murray's life. Anything we could do to reduce that number of seizures would be amazing. And Murray, he was diagnosed with Deuce syndrome, which again is a severe form of epilepsy. And not long after he started cannabis medicines, he started having seizure free days. Currently, he's 15 months seizure free because of starting the cannabis medicine treatment. That's absolutely amazing. You know, in one hand, you have people who would lead you to believe that cannabis has no medicinal value, and uh, and then you've people here like Murray who are alive today, and like you see the color there in that young boy's face, like and the smile. It's remarkable what cannabis medicine is after doing for him. And why Murray is in the news today? It's because like it's sad. It really is sad. What I have to report on this is that Murray's consultant has dropped him from his care. So essentially, now Murray is without the care of his consultant. Instead, he's after being given to what they're calling a specialist or a complex epilepsy team. Now, I don't know much about what a complex epilepsy team means outside of his consultant, who would have most likely known Murray very well, probably worked with him for a long time. Now he's got this complex epilepsy team, which apparently it consists of three neurology consultants and a specialized nursing staff. Now, not to diss that or anything, it's just what in the hell is going on that the consultant dropped him. He said that he's been stressed by it. Could this apparently just have anything to do with the fact that Murray's on a kind of a taboo medicine, medical cannabis? You know, it is not bad enough that Murray's mum has to go to raise £1,400 a month just to pay for this medicine because the NHS won't cover the cost of it. But now the consultants are dropping him because the consultant is stressed. Jesus, like, what about the poor like mother and the family, all of those people who know Murray and the stress they underwent when they had to look at that boy on the left, you know, and versus the boy on the right, you know, because that's what medical cannabis has allowed him to get to do. That change is all because of the medicinal cannabis. Without it, he'd be still going 12 seizures a day, maybe more. Possibly, you know, it mightn't be around today because, as I say, each one of those seizures is a roll of the dice as to whether his life would be taken or not. And that's the scary reality with epilepsy. I'm just going to play a little video here because I was going to play a video. There was a few videos there of Murray that his mum shared, and one of them was him actually having some like very severe seizures. And I'm not going to torture you with that at all, because you know what we should be doing is looking for this, which is this is much more positive anyway in my eyes. So just give me a second there. I'm just going to quickly switch over to this, like, but what you're viewing here is effectively medical cannabis at work. Look at that, like. Do you know, how could anybody want to deny a young boy that? Do you know, versus what the alternative was, you know, that boy on all those drugs there on the right, those anti-epileptic drugs, very powerful medications. So that's just a shame there on that consultant who went and dropped Murray. Shame, like, and then the Scottish government haven't commented on this then either. They were asked to comment on it and they've refused to do so. I know there's a couple of people there within the Scottish government, I suppose, not in power but in minority, and they support Murray on his case. But sadly, those guys who actually hold power just aren't doing enough. Sadly, they should be paying for Murray's medicine. They should be providing it, making sure that the boy on the left never has to, you know, come back into existence. You know, that boy on the right is the one that should always be there, full of life, full of colour. And you know, we shouldn't allow this desire, this want for the war on drugs, the prohibition of cannabis, to allow kids like Murray be denied access to medicinal cannabis. And we shouldn't be forcing mothers either, like Karen, to be going and raising the funds to do that, because every month, like, I'm sure she's under severe stress and worry and anxiety. It's not bad enough she has to, you know, do the normal jobs that comes with being a parent, on top of all these extraordinary jobs that come with being a parent of a child with a severe health condition such as Do syndrome, epilepsy. So I have one or two comments there actually that I got from Karen. I reached out to Karen for a comment on this earlier, and just give me a second. She's asked me just to get this out to people. Give me 1 second there now, just getting up my messages on Facebook. Apologies, should have had this one out there, written down or whatever. But yeah, I was chatting with Karen there anyway this morning just to let her know, you know, that I was going to be covering this, and I wanted to just give her an opportunity to add some comments to this. So yeah, Karen has asked me to tell people that the NHS trials do not last as long as 19 months. This is how long Murray has been taking the oils. Therefore, they should do the right thing and collectively prescribe it for Murray and all of the other children in the UK. They also need to decriminalise for everyone else that's currently using it illegally. It's just a joke, isn't it? The government have made it easy for private clinics to prescribe it, therefore it should be legalised. Grow your own, allowed dispensaries set up for people who don't want to grow their own, and the NHS need to get on board with this. You know, so that's what Karen had to say there in this, and I wholeheartedly agree with her there that it is these laws that this prohibition of cannabis that's in place that keeps these medicines from people like Murray, and puts parents like Karen in the unfortunate position where they have to fight hard for access, just to access a medicine that potentially is saving the life of their child. You know, we've cases here in Ireland with parents who are doing the exact same thing. As I say at the start of this video, Vera Toomey was very much an inspiration to my protest last Wednesday when I was out there, and also the other patients in Ireland who are without effective access to cannabis. Kenny Tynan, you might have heard of him. He started the Cannabis Patient podcast, and you know, another really nice guy, and unfortunately a victim of all of the stigmatic and discrimination that goes on within the medical community, because he's been forced to pay for his medicine too, much like Murray and his parents are forced to pay for his medication by the NHS. Kenny Tynan had the reimbursement removed from his cannabis medicine, and it was costing him up to nearly €4,000 every 3 months, and he had to leave Ireland to go get that. He had to collect it from the pharmacy over in The Hague. So just more utter discrimination here, and there's no need for it at all. There's no need for parents like Karen to have to be out there fundraising, to be getting £1,400 a month, to be paying a private clinic to prescribe a medicine that could be grown cheaply by a compassionate person within the vicinity of the locale, who actually knows what they're doing. We've got really good herbalists out there. We've got really good organic farmers out there who could be, at the forefront of this industry, but sadly they're not. So yeah, farmers, guys. So that brings me on to the next part of today's show. So the IFA have been popping up there in the news over the weekend, and the IFA is the Irish Farmers Association. So the Irish Farmers Association pushed for legalization of medicinal cannabis, and yeah, I think this is good news in one sense. I was reading into it. I was like, yeah, great. This is great. Conversation is being had, and then you look into what these guys are actually saying. They're calling for the legalization of medicinal cannabis, but then you read down through it, and all they actually talk about is hemp. They keep using the word hemp. They're like afraid to talk about the word cannabis, as it's like some taboo thing. Like, oh no, we're not growing cannabis, we're growing hemp, and we just want to widen the category of hemp to include hemp that's up to 15% CBD, and we need to allow up to 0.3% THC now. This is what the Irish Farmers Association is now saying. They're actually, sticking with the kind of the, I don't know, the propaganda and all of the stigmatization that's there, because they're unwilling to actually talk about cannabis, and they want to talk about hemp, and that's a bit disingenuous, really. And yeah, I think they're missing a very big opportunity to actually have a conversation about just growing cannabis, just cannabis, like not this medical, not in hemp. Just talk about cannabis. There's a fair and stigma there within anybody who's having a conversation on this, from like just not any bit of a respectable position within the IFA or what have you. They don't want to talk about recreational cannabis, so one of the guys there, what's his name, Pat Farrell. So Pat Farrell is the horticulture expert of the IFA. All right, so this is what he had to say. So Farrell said the production of medicinal cannabis would be heavily regulated, as he wanted to allay fears that it would be used for recreational purposes. So they want to keep it heavily regulated. Guys, what that says to me is they do not want me or you to be able to grow any cannabis at home, even if it's a CBD variety, okay? They want to keep it locked up behind these silly licenses that just make no sense. All it is just, it's a scam. The whole lot's a scam, okay? That's all it is. They want to keep the things locked up behind licenses. They don't want people to be able to grow their own hemp or CBD cannabis at home, and they want you to be on the hook then to be able to have to go to them to buy it if you want it. They're not going to allow a craft industry emerge around cannabis at all. Do you know what's the fair with the recreational? I hate that bloody term, but what's the fair around it? What's the fair with somebody like me, an adult? I'm 31 years of age, being consenting, going in and purchasing cannabis from a store where there's a person being paid a fair wage. Do you know, they might have even health insurance through their job. They might have perks and benefits to their jobs. Do you know, and I pay a tax then on that product. That product has a quality assurance. You know, there's an age limit applied at the door, so kids can't get in. Like, what's the fear of having that conversation? Why is the Irish Farmers Association so afraid to have this conversation? They would benefit greatly if we were to just drop this whole propaganda, this whole scam around the conversation of hemp and cannabis and all of this stuff. All right, let's open it up. Let's have licenses for people to be able to grow their own home. And it only costing you maybe 10 or 20 bucks or something like that, and that going in towards a central fund, and that helps fund things like education and maybe the 2% of people who get addicted to cannabis, we can help them. Yeah, 2% I think is the number there that actually get addicted to cannabis, the most likely of underlying issues that causes addiction. But we could put money aside there. If people want to grow it and sell it, then they have a different license and they pay a little bit more for that license. And also then when there's all the VAT added to the products, similar to what we do to tobacco. But let's hope we don't fuck it up like we did tobacco and alcohol, where we have a tax through the roof and there's a black market then created, despite there actually being a legitimate market. People go to the black market currently today to buy cigarettes because they keep upping the cost of cigarettes. That's anti health actually, if you were to look at it, because when people buy cigarettes on the black market, they're getting an unregulated product most likely. And that's what's happening with cannabis. If we were to open up a cannabis market, we have to make sure we don't tax it too heavily, and we don't need to over-regulate it either. Like a simple age limit, it should be no different to what we do with alcohol and tobacco. I could go home later on and start brewing cider if I want. Why can't I do the same for a cannabis plant? Why can't I go home and just grow a cannabis plant out my back garden and not have to go down and deal with some drug dealer who's also selling cocaine or heroin, and he's buying it then from the paramilitaries, from the Kinahans, from the triads, from all of these unscrupulous people out there. Like, why am I forced to do this? Like, why won't the Irish Farmers Association have an honest goddamn conversation about this? Why are they hiding behind medicinal cannabis? Like, guys, come on, it's very disingenuous. Come on, have a real adult conversation about this, and stop with your alive fears that it would be used for recreational purposes. Come on, like, seriously, missing an opportunity, guys. Be adults. Stop being so childish. Onwards, guys. Why I was missing actually on Friday, why there was no 420 news on Friday, is I was in West Cork carrying out some interviews with the guys who were arrested with the raids in West Cork and Dublin at the start of the week last week. So there was 140,000 worth of cannabis seized, again, just to cover that again, but it was all CBD flowers. Now, they keep going on about psychoactive substances and things like that, but I'm being led to believe that was for personal possession and they weren't actually for sale and supply. That was only a very small personal amount of stuff that was there. So I don't know why the media keeps harping on about that at all. But I have to sit in those interviews until such time as the people are actually officially charged, and once I get the green light, then I will have those interviews straight out to you guys. So keep a watch on that. I'll be watching my phone. Once I get the thumbs up that that's okay to release the footage, I will release the footage. So until then, guys, just hold tough. But yeah, again, look, the third person who was arrested in this. So I was talking to this person too. Apparently, the reason why this person wasn't arrested is because they were self-isolating, and that's why they weren't arrested until just the other day. This self-isolation must have ended. So more news will come on that. Just wanted to touch actually on the IFA again. Just before I drive on. The IFA are calling for a 15% CBD and 3% or 0.3% THC. That kind of leads me to believe that these guys don't really understand what they're talking about too, because why would you cap it at 15% for CBD when it's the non-psychoactive compound? Surely you should be just focused on THC, the psychoactive compound, if that's what you're so fearful about. No? Why would you stagger the efficiency of our farmers? In the article, they actually talk about farmers currently getting about 5,000 per kilo for the current cannabis that is about 3.5 to 5% CBD. That they will be able to triple that income by increasing it to 15%. Well, what if they were to allow it up to 20% or 25%? Wouldn't they quadruple it or multiply it by 5? Why are we limiting this efficiency? It makes me kind of believe you're talking out your arse a little bit. But guys, IFA, I'm open I'm available for consultation. Give me a shout. Sounds like you could need it. So yeah, we drive on. Guys, please forgive me for my next one. Yeah, I hope you can forgive me. But yeah, there was a cannabis bust in Charleville. Sorry, I'm so fucking sorry. But yeah, I don't know who the media missed out on the opportunity for that headline. A cannabis bust. Jesus, I'm laughing at my own joke. I'm so sad. I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, in Charleville, as part of Operation Fanacht, so that's the, if you're unaware, guys, Ireland is going on a bit of a lockdown in that you can't leave your own county now currently. And as part of that, Gardaí are stepping up their efforts across the country with increased checkpoints at the side of roads and da da da. A bus was stopped on the way into Charleville, and there was a smell of cannabis off of some guy, and he got nabbed. Lousy. That's so fucking lousy. €820 worth of cannabis. I wonder, was he just after going picking her up and just stocking up for the next few months? You know, guy getting ready for winter. Winter is coming and all that. Level 5 could be upon us where we might even be able to leave 2 kilometers without outside of our own home. So that would be kind of scary again if we have to go into that. But I wonder, was this guy preparing for lockdown? And sadly, now the Gardaí have taken it from him. Like it's bad enough that they stop the bus and then they get on it, and then they smell a bit of cannabis. That's just so bad. Surely, if it was about the COVID, like they'd just go on and do the job about the COVID, make sure everyone's doing their thing and staying within the borders. Like this in my eyes is essential travel. You know, I was going like the off licenses are essential service that they haven't closed at all. Surely this guy is essential travel to go get his cannabis. I know it's illegal. I know, but still, it's essential travel. Come on, give the guy a break. Give him back his cannabis, for fuck's sake. That's lousy, seriously. So, and then like this Operation Fanacht and this whole lockdown thing, I had buddies there. They were up at a student's house the other night, and they were in the house. 4 of them. They were all living in the house too. Bang, bang, bang at the front door, and they went out and answered it, and it was the cops knocking at the door to make sure that there wasn't more than should be in the house. They done a door check on their house, student's house, and upon knocking at the door, then they kind of wanted to come in and what have you, and they smelled cannabis. And they were like, "Look, lads, we know you're smoking cannabis, and we if don't make us come back. If we get any complaints of loads of noise and all this kind of crack, we'll be back." But the lad's terrified now because their half could get raided at any point in time. Those guards just might get bored, much like the hospitals can be quite quiet at the moment. I'm not, no offense to anybody who's out there working in a hospital if your ward is busy, but from what I'm hearing, it's not as busy as what it normally would be. But maybe the guards won't be that busy either because they don't have to deal with a load of drunks at 2 o'clock in the morning. So instead of that, now they're going to carry out no-knock raids at 11 o'clock and just kick in students' doors, scare the shit out of them, hold them all up, and search their pockets, and then threaten their futures, their future careers that they're going to college to work on. Sad reality for people out there. But yeah, Operation Fanacht going outside of its bounds and finding cannabis. Sad. And then onwards, guys, almost there. Final piece of news today, guys, is going to bring us to Knocka. Alright, boys, what's the story up in Knocka? Shout out to all the boys. North side, what's happening? Bang, bang. What's the crack, boys, with the guns? Like, is this actually a thing in Cork now? Like, because it's rather frightening. So this is something I actually had in my news for last Wednesday, and I just had to include it for today because it's definitely worth talking about. And I have to point out there was no cannabis found in this at all. So this isn't cannabis related at all, but it certainly is drug policy related because we've got cocaine and a gun, and this is only 5 minutes from my house. This is ridiculous. My daughter is 13 and she hangs around with her friends. She goes down, hangs out in the local shopping centre down in Blackpool, 2 minutes away from this shit. What if this scumbag with his gun is going down to Blackpool to take on some dude who owes him money, do you know? And down in the middle of the shopping centre someday, there's pop, do you know? This is the sad reality that Prohibition creates in our streets, guys. Like, seriously, this is going to only get worse the longer it stays in place. And I don't like to go outside of dealing with cannabis related topics, like, but this is something that needs to be talked about. The prohibition creates this problem where you have young people, like the young fella was in his 20s who got arrested in this, and that's no apologies. I'm crossing wires here. Actually, that was a different one where there was a person in their 20s arrested. Nobody was arrested in this actually. Nobody was arrested. There was €800 in cocaine seized, and there was a gun and a magazine seized, and nobody was arrested. What the hell? Seriously, that's just ridiculous. But as I was saying, what's to stop these guys? Like this is only 2 minutes away from where I live, where my daughter hangs out. It's just scary that this is on the streets of Cork, and I know I was aware of it, I suppose, in some level, but just to see it in the media again, and to be so close to home, it's scary. So all you politicians out there, Thomas Gould, this is up your neck of the woods, boy. You love Knocka, you love the north side, all right? Like, what's the story here? Do you support prohibition? Do you want to continue support prohibition, or do you want to just try something different? Let's try legalization, decriminalization, regulation. I don't know. I'm at a loss of words. Like, this is just sad. Like, that this is we're just going to continue this for how long more? How long more, really, are we going to continue with this prohibition, this war on drugs that puts guns into the hands of these young criminals? It's sad. It really is sad. And just one final piece, actually, before I finish up, and it was that at the first 6 months of this year, okay, Revenue have reported that they've had €20 million worth of drugs seized. That includes cannabis, heroin, cocaine, all of the drugs in the first 6 months. Guess how much they seized last year? In all of 2019, they seized €23.6 million worth of drugs. 23.6 million. In the first 6 months of this year, they've seized 20 million. Okay, so like just to have an idea, before the end of the year, if the trend is to continue, we'd be looking at about 50 million by the end of the year. Do you know, currently last year it was 23.6, so we're seeing a doubling, a doubling. Now, is this just because of there definitely is an increased movement of drugs through the mail service and couriers, things like that. 100% definitely there's going to be an increase in detection there. There's probably less people now traveling around. I definitely know there is less street dealing going on now. People who would have normally been selling a bit of cannabis and what have you, definitely their avenues have dried up, and everything now seems to be gone online. Snapchat, Instagram, like Facebook, all of them being used now to facilitate the sale and supply of drugs. And revenue reporting that we've had 20 million so far in the first 6 months of this year, compared to 23.6 million in all of last year. That's just an alarm that the war on drugs is a failure, and the government need to get the finger out of their hole and do something. Seriously, Thomas Gould, going back to the last one, Thomas, this is in your neck of the woods, but come on, address it. Come on, like, seriously, call for the need for regulation of these drugs. It's ridiculous that this is going to continue. So that is it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I gotta drive on. I've an interview in the next 10 minutes with somebody else in the Cannabis Compliance Ireland. So I'm gonna have a chat with those guys over on their little talk show. But before I get over there, guys, as always, I'll get out and see what you guys have to say in the world. Dave, what's the story, man? I hope you didn't have any withdrawals there or anything. I got a few messages from people actually wondering, was everything okay? They thought I was after getting arrested or something when I didn't do Friday's 420 news. I forgot to put up that I was away on an interview that day. But people thought I was after getting arrested because of the whole protest on Wednesday. But no, I didn't get arrested. Haven't heard a peep from anybody yet. Touch wood, I don't either. I'm not looking for trouble, but I'm certainly looking for them to talk about this. Dave adds there that £1,400 per month is robbing poor Murray's mother. They could grow it for a fraction of the price. Prohibition in another name. Shocking prices. Prices NHS are as bad as the HSE. Yeah, it is fucking ridiculous, man. £1,400 a month versus, you know, something that they could grow quite easily in their house for, I don't know, less than €50 a month, you know, £50 a month, whatever. And that would be growing a nice bit too at £50 a month. Kenny Tynan adds there, is the plant still there at City Hall? Kenny, no, somebody that was watching the live stream, I'd say, was quickly over there to whip it because I got a message maybe 40 minutes after I left that somebody was seen jumping the fence with the plant in hand. So whoever it is out there, guys, get a picture into me. Let me know how she's doing. Like I have no hard feelings towards you. I got what I wanted out of going in there, uh, planting the plant, getting the photos, making the statement. I got what I wanted. I'm quite happy actually that somebody took it away and hopefully brought it into a nice warm house and took care of it that evening because it was quite a cold night that night, and I would hate to see that lovely little girl, that young critical kush plant, hinting, John, just to let you know what you have out there if you are watching. But seriously, get me a picture in if you have it. Let me know she's doing okay. Paddy Whelan, keep her lit. What's the crack, Paddy? Nice one for adding in there. And Dave, the Garda, considering CBD flowers, probably adding to that. Yeah, you know, they probably are. And Terry Gavin, what's the crack, Terry? How you doing? Nice one. So guys, that's it there from the comments anyway up on the live stream. At least that's what I see on my side. So I'm going to go get ready for my interview, and just want to remind you that if you don't know, I have a Patreon up there. It's patreon.com/Martin's World, and I'm just collecting a couple of collecting funds in order to establish a cannabis activist hub in Cork City. I hope to have that up and running as soon as is possible. Obviously, with the whole coronavirus regulations, that's going to be a bit of an issue. But as soon as it is possible, I will have a location there and we'll start making things happen. You know, I don't know if you've seen my photo there of the little smoker poker that I had with my buddies over the weekend, but that's just one of many type of events that would be possible then at the Cannabis Activist Hub to just to promote a bit of socialising and to strengthen our community. You know, it isn't all work. We can have a bit of fun to it at times. But I look forward to that time once we get that activist hub up and running, and yeah, we get the people in there. There's also martinsworld.ie if you want to make a donation through Bitcoin. You find a link up there, a little button that'll bring you up to OpenNode, and you can make a donation there through Bitcoin as well, or some other cryptocurrencies as well, possibly. Not too sure. Must check that one out. So guys, until next time, keep her lit, stay blazed. Peace.